Tink. Z, sleepy. Go to sleep, wake up. Taking you under. Oh, it's finally working. It's up. It's letting me do it. Z. You know, it's like, so you get brainwashed by Z. For me, nothing. It mean nothing. We make it mean nothing. Z. What am I Z? I don't even know what Z is. I don't speak English, sorry.
Aaron Davis.
Wait, what? That's my uncle.
Does he know you're Spider-Man?
No.
Z.
I'm headed to the subway stop.
You can't control me. Z. That you can control me. No brainwashing today. Oh, this is like trippy. I don't know if I got the
Gotta see what's going on with the subways in Harlem.
eye sockets for this. Whoa! Okay. The 180 frames per second. The virtual reality. Let's see where I want to go. Whoa! What kind of 360 circles is this shit? Oh, no, we're only gonna do 180 right here. Oh, we did more than 180 accidentally. I don't even know if we are capable of doing 180. Okay, right now, can I do 180? No, see, I go over the line. I'm unable to do 180 right now. I could do a 360. Well, an awkward one. That's awesome. Let's see. Circle. Full rotation. Half rotation. Which first? I'm not collecting everything. Trying to think I got the mind power for that shit. Yeah. But look at the bright side. You don't have to worry about me leaving unless someone abducts me. And if I left, you know someone stole me. And you're gonna go get me back. It was against my own free will. They used Z. They used my ignorance, my naivety. The naivability isn't a word, but it is now. Naivability. Naive. My only true crime. Any Sweeney Todd fans? The only true crime before the crime was naive. Not awake for this shit. No.
What is going on?
Hey there.
Why the world's
You need some
spinning?
help?
I went too
Spider-Man,
far in.
by the way.
I took a portal.
No, Aaron Davis. I think
You didn't
somebody's
see
messing
it.
with the
I
sensors.
saw it.
I'm
I
getting
meant
bad data from the main relay up top
I
of Grand
mental.
Central.
On my way.
I'm
Wait.
mental.
Wait,
Yeah?
I portal hop
where's the other Spider?
without even having to
Oh,
physically
He's
move.
on vacation.
I portal
Don't
up.
worry. I got this.
Where my mind at?
Whew.
Where'd it
Careful, they don't
go?
recognize me. Oh,
Oh, there's like a
calling
portal.
through the app? This is Spider-Man.
Hey, forgot to mention, there was a break-in last night right next door at Roxanne Plaza. A group called the Underground. Caught them hanging around my stop this morning.
The Underground. You know anything else about them?
They think of themselves as a young mafia. Been around a while, but now they've got a new boss.
Tinkerer. Thanks for the tip. So,
Just watch that in
you call
Gotham.
Spider-Man often? Like, for help?
Because I've never finished
They
that
really have a way
shit.
to get in touch to this app thing.
I'm trying
I
to
saw you on
work
the news
on it.
last night taking down Rhino. Figured you were the right person to call.
Cool. Have you, been working at the subway long?
Nah, took the job last year after my brother. Well, anyway, I was trying to make some changes. Decided this job was a good place to start. Trains going down on my watch doesn't exactly paint me in a good light.
Well,
Let's do
when we
this.
fix them, you can tell your boss you showed initiative by using the
All day.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man apps.
I'll do that. Good luck
Keep
with the census.
swinging. Just keep swinging. Spot a census. A census. I'm tuning in. Da-da-da-da-da. It's gonna be my doom. My need for you is going to be my doom. Yo.
There's the sensors.
Ow. That hurt really bad. I felt that. Did you feel that?
There are way too many wires on this one. It's gotta be messing with the signal.
Slamming a brick wall! On command.
Where do these cables go?
I don't know. I don't solve puzzles for a living. I got a
Inside
girlfriend.
that shack.
I wish. Okay, let's see. Your mouth. You're coming all stupid. I don't need it. Whoa! You scared the hell out of me. I don't get scared. I don't like surprises. What's up? Oh, is that? I was wondering if that was mine.
You can-
I didn't want to take it because it
You
wasn't
can have it
mine.
if you want it.
All right. I'll be right back.
I just...
Where'd it come from? Dunkin' Donuts? Oh, Burger? I want to go to the beach. The beach. I haven't been to the beach in a while. I know, the ocean is the shit. There's a sense of freedom you can't get anywhere else. Alright.
I'm going in there.
Is that the shrimp I got?
Yeah, I took it out.
Okay. I could cook shrimp. Or you can cook it. I don't either way, I don't care. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Modern X Nation. I gotta shave. I feel. You take a shower, but I'm like, I'm not gonna shave my face today. Even though I probably should. How gross of me. Especially the neck hair. The neck hair is what gets me this. I can't stand neck hair. That bothers me. It bugs the hell out of me. I don't usually admit that, but it does. Itchy as shit. You're allowed to go inside these things? Alright. Puzzle.
Maybe I should try the front door.
This? Oh, I see what you're saying. Nice. Well, who are you?
Hey, yourself!
Oh.
Signal
Okay.
relays are being jammed by something.
Later.
This is crazy tech. Hate to do this, but
Sensors are
Electric
back online.
spider.
What did you do?
took care of the guy messing with it.
Lightning.
And it looks like they left some of their toys behind. Hey, I'm gonna have to call you back. Whoa. Bet I could use this to make those hollow drones Pete designed.
Hollow.
This tech has a pretty unique RF. Wonder if I can track it. Huh. Looks like there's a bunch more of these around the city.
Run around. What are the trophies on this thing? I don't even want to look. What am I getting myself into here if I look? Trophy tracker. Craft a visor. Use venom dash to throw an enemy into a group of 3 or more. Perform 100 stealth takedowns. Perform 100 times combo. Ride the derelict boat in southern Chinatown. Sounds fun. Platinum, gold, a new home. This is hard. Collect all time capsules. Collect all postcards. Open all underground caches. Hidden trophy. Purchase all suits. Hidden trophy. Can I even see the hidden trophy thing? I thought you could see it. Privacy settings. Hidden games. What the hell is hidden games? Hide your game. No, I don't care. I don't care about that. Let's see. Purchase all suits. I just want to know what this is. Show hidden information. Come at the king. Unravel a criminal conspiracy. Nice. I like that. This tells me. I click like this. Under their noses, shut down all Roxxon labs. Underground undone. Shut down all underground hideouts. To come at the king. Okay, so complete an enemy base without being detected. Perform 100 times combo. Hidden trophy here says launch, swing, and dive. Get spectacular or better in Spider-Man and Spider training. I probably won't. So I usually like doing tutorials. Okay, punching pixels. View all details. Another training combat trophy. Dodging light. Name. Get spectacular or better in stealth challenge. Spider training complete. Pete's first villain. Craft 10 upgrades. Ride Rhino through the mall. Where did that? Hidden trophy. Deep cuts name. Hanging by a thread. These must be story achievements. Core of the problem. The vault sequence. I just get bored. I just click on all these until I fall asleep. It's when it becomes a job, it's no longer fun. Perform 25 ceiling takedowns. Perform 25 wall takedowns. Defeat 50 enemies with camouflage. Defeat 100 enemies with venom attacks. Perform a venom jump, then a venom dash on a single enemy. Use venom dash to throw an enemy into a group of 3 or more. Smash into 15 breakable objects while steering Rhino through the shopping mall. Apparently I didn't get that. I was dodging obstacles instead of smashing through them. My bad. I didn't know we were supposed to be evil. Beat Finn at the rocket launch minigame. Pay your respects to a legend on the Upper West Side. JJJJ would be proud. Apply a sticker and customize lighting while in photo mode. Trapped. Defeat 50 enemies with a remote mine gadget. Complete all FNSMM. App requests. Craft a suit mod, already did that. Craft a visor mod, did not do that. Pay your respects at Jefferson Davis's grave in Harlem. So there's 2 different grave sites achievements apparently. Receive the gift suit, already got that. Complete all bonus subjects. For every crime type, perform 100 stealth takedowns, ride the derelict boat in southern Chinatown. Scroll through, I feel like I already read that. Scroll through the entire social feed at the end of the story. Complete the game on New Game Plus. Okay, actually I was actually playing the game on New Play Plus on the other Spider-Man. Because I think that Spider-Man, that's actually was the first game I ever platinum on. I never platinum a game ever on PlayStation. No, thank you. Read minds. That's my suggestion. It's, oh shit. I don't know if that's a good suggestion. I don't know what's on my mind. Portal hopping. Getting abducted by the hottest woman ever. Going on an adventure. Yeah. Maybe you should stay out of my mind.
Perfect time to try out those new hollow drones. Stay on the ground. We gotta stop running into each other.
I got 2 of them on the field. Nice. Oh. What the hell?
You're done. You never should have. You can't stop the underground.
Peace out! Okay. Hope the trains are running again. Should check in with Uncle Aaron.
Yeah,
Hey, Mr. Davis. How are things looking now?
Yo.
got a signal, but no trains on the tracks. Something must have gone down at the yard.
It was the underground messing with your sensors. I'm thinking. Does Roxxon ever use the subway to ship new form?
Roxxon's? The subway system was designed to carry people, not freight. This line got some updates when Roxxon Plaza was built.
So they could be using it under the table. I'll follow up on it. So, you mentioned your brother. You got other family?
Haven't seen them in a while. I had to make some changes.
Like some
Like
weird
taking his
sound
job.
effect.
I miss him. Especially my nephew.
Indeed.
We used to mix beats together.
Well, maybe now you could see him again. Them, your family.
Hope so, kid.
Yeah, I should go. Fight underground. Bye.
Secrets, where are you? Oh, sweet secrets. Exhausting. Let's do it. Oh shit. You hate it, you hate it, you hate it. Oh. Bad. Looking for a door. Nobody knows.
Catch you later, Spidey.
This could be useful.
My man, you crushed it with Rhino!
What's up with Rhino? Here's an idea for Amazing Spider-Man 3. To keep it the same, but also to evolve it at the same time. See, I actually think the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the first two Amazing Spider-Man movies were underestimated for what they were. They were actually the only Spider-Man movies ever made that actually had an explanation. Every other Spider-Man movie never had it made absolutely no sense if you think about it. Even just like a bite magically gave him powers, but Amazing Spider-Man actually made it so it was more scientific and made a little more sense. No, I'm trying to sit down. I don't like listening to that. Anyway, I'm suppressing that shit. But anyway, I don't like to be reminded how bad the world is. Alright, okay, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 can, let's be realistic here, it should transition from Amazing Spider-Man 2, right? And play filler. But it's like, it would be so stupid if they put some people are saying, well, Venom versus Spider-Man in that movie. It wouldn't make any sense. It would change up the whole atmosphere, the whole thing, and it would be like, it doesn't fit well, because if you sit here and think about it, what would fit better with the Amazing Spider-Man 3, realistically? Rhino, Black Cat, and the fall of, obviously the fall of, everything that's going on there. So when it goes in that direction, like Oscorp gets shut down, and able to have it so all this goes down. So you'd have basically the lead villain as like Silver Sable, other words, is what the main villain probably would be for the Amazing Spider-Man 3. I wouldn't put Venom in that movie because it's too soon. People don't understand that if they jump there, it's like, but people really seem to not care if it makes sense, though. Also, so I don't know. But see, I liked Morbius because it was more scientific. In tried to, partly because it was trying to explain things a little better to make it more realistic. And I like that they attempted it, and they did all right. But apparently people don't like that type of stuff. They just want to jump in with no origin, and I think that's dumb. It's like it needs an origin. It needs to have this shit. Because look at Tom Holland. They're focused on Tom Holland, but the Spider-Man Homecoming movie that they made, the first one, was full of issues. Right in the beginning, one of the biggest mistakes in the film was a timeline mistake. Like, if you do your math, because they analyze, the people who made and wrote Spider-Man Homecoming fucked up the whole beginning of the movie, like, really badly, to not match the timeline whatsoever. Like, coming out of Civil War, and then what Civil War was at, and then where Avengers Endgame was going into. It just makes absolutely no sense. Like the timeline itself. Like I know most people probably don't notice that because you won't notice it unless you care about the time. You know, if you don't care about the time, then I guess it doesn't fucking matter. But within the story, but I like it when a story, like when you have something that's supposed to be Marvel, it's supposed to surprise you, and if it's ignorant, it's not very surprising. It's just stupid. You don't know if it makes any sense. Like if you find something that's like, oh wow, this disconnects. There, like, look at Internals for an example. Internals was a seriously underestimated origin beginning film, but I got to keep it real. The comics were like felt so unfinished in themselves. The Internals, even in the comics, so they would definitely have to change or mix things up. So, but when I look at that, when they integrate DC into it, like DC is television and entertainment, basically is what you get from it, which is an interesting idea. But I think you start to take away from the world. Sometimes when you start integrating our world into it like that, because when I write, for example, I like a lot of times my worlds that I create will actually have fictional content that relate to another story. Take Stephen King does it. Stephen King does do it. He does it with his books. He did it with Firestarter, with The Shining, with Doctor Sleep. They all have something that does connect them in a shared universe. They are, if that makes any sense. Even the book of the Dark Tower series is full of shit like that, and it's like, but the problem, I never actually completely, I don't know, but I've analyzed a bit and studied a bit and read what I have read of it, it's just, and then what I've watched, I don't think the movie did justice though, the Dark Tower movie. I think it needs, it's like, Aragon, even though Aragon's a lot shorter than the Dark Tower, in some ways it could be considered longer if you go into the background of Aragon to Eldest or whatever. But you look at that and you look at that and it's just, that was unfinished. They just did the first book and that was it. Take the first time it did a series of unfortunate events with Jim Carrey, which turned out to be a really good movie by itself, though. But for me, I kind of like that they put comedy in something that's so depressing, because the stories aren't comedy at all. They're very designed to teach you and make depression out of things and turn it into education at the same time, with things that aren't always what they seem and shit like that. And obviously Count Olaf's an actor and all this other shit, and they do all this stuff, like, so there's a lot of differences actually. But and then I watched the show, and the show was a little closer. I don't think they finished the show though. I finished it and just totally lost like where I was at or something. I don't know, but I kind of did feel that was a little unfinished, but in itself too. But it was all right for what it was, I guess. But looking at all these different directions of things, I think The Amazing Spider-Man 3, because I tried to be nice. Alright, so The Amazing Spider-Man 3 I feel like if I were making Amazing Spider-Man 3, it would start off like sometime after the events of Rhino and him dealing with Oscorp plans, and who takes over, and how it falls in the hands of someone who's actually out there to get Spider-Man, which would be Silver Sable, and while introducing Black Cat, and then at the end you could like have Rhino be not at the end of the movie, but right before the Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse shit with the multiverse with Doctor Strange happens. You could actually do a first, in Act 1, answer all those things that were going on in Act 1, and then, which would lead up to why it altered, because everything that was going on there didn't stop happening. Just because Spider-Man disappeared, it didn't end the world, you know what I mean? It just became the villains world, like Black Cat and Rhino and Silver Sable and shit. It just makes sense that that they would be running around in the background, and that would make sense why Venom would be around and not have a clue who Spider-Man is, because Spider-Man could have went up a long time ago, because he could have disappeared at any time. Because think about it, when the Spider-Verse came up, it took a character from a specific time, and it shows a specific time, and by doing that, you create alternate versions of that timeline. So it means that in that timeline where Spider-Man was taken, it didn't take any of the villains that were there. They were still there. So it didn't change the fact that Jamie Foxx's character died in that version. He's still dead. See what I'm saying? It didn't change the fact that the human lizard was already cured and behind bars. That only changed it, to their timeline. So each villain now has their own timeline in the Amazing Spider-Man, and each villain has their own timeline in. You see what happened? Each villain has their own timeline in that, and then even when the Green Goblin gets back, it's a whole different world. But are they going to focus on the villains, or are they going to focus which way? Because at the end of the day, it comes to the choice of which one. But you can also do all of them, interlink them through the Spider-Verse. You could, but before you do that, I think it would be interesting to do a little of everything. Do the Amazing Spider-Man 3, and as that, and this way, because then you don't need to do Amazing Spider-Man 4, because you could do, at that point, you focus on a different Spider-Man type of film. And so, basically, with the Amazing Spider-Man 3, you would start off with the after effects, him getting bitter, Rhino. There's no Venom, because it makes no sense, because he didn't meet Venom before he went up. So, Rhino and Black Cat, and obviously Venom doesn't exist yet, but Venom could be in the same damn universe as as the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, though. It just, if you think about it, it's on that timeline. That could make sense because he's there and at a different timeline, and they just took Andrew Garfield Spider-Man at a different timeline. Instead of making it so damn complicated, like how do we go and do all of it? You still want to make it make sense. In other words, you have to leave Jamie Foxx's character dead, unless you're gonna bring him from another universe. See what I'm saying? So because he's alive only in another universe, but he's alive cured, right? He's cured in the other. When he goes back cured to another version of the timeline, that would just change things. Unless he was like somehow, unless someone was hopping through portals. This is how you could make this work without changing the timeline, is if someone was watching this happen this whole time, like they were watching the multiverse. Okay, so the Spider-Verse is open, but someone was watching the whole time, right? Makes sense to do it this way. So like Madam Web could be watching this whole time, and then so when Electro goes back and when into the Amazing Spider-Man, because she would come in and basically just take him, so it doesn't mess up the timeline, make it seem like he did die. So that it's like, so he's like, so they're like, well, there's already a big mess, right? So how do we clean it and make it so this universe isn't split off into three different universes, right? Or four now because of Venom, if you count Venom. And then, so what you do is you have one character that's just collecting the villains that did return. It just makes sense that you would write that in the script so it doesn't become a big clusterfuck. So that there's another character collecting all these villains who did return, so the timeline doesn't affect it. The timeline wouldn't be affected unless people were aware of this, right? It would become the real idea or the knowledge, because it would just be like, oh, they're dead. Think about it, like, if he came back, if he disappeared right then when he was being electrocuted, he could still come back at that time in the air and then fall to his death, right? If you think about it, like, if it's right then at that moment, so who's deciding where they're going back to? See what I'm saying? So it's like, it just, I try to make sense of it. It just, and to me, they would either fall back and die. The human lizard was already cured to begin with, so you just end up back in a cell cured, and it's like, it's so the timeline there didn't change at all if you do it correctly. So it's like, and then it's just like the Amazing Spider-Man has an opportunity that the Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, is going to be more difficult, because these characters, there's more you got to work with that than you do the Amazing Spider-Man. There's less you got to work with the Amazing Spider-Man. It's easier, and if you fuck that up, then you are seriously dumb. Like really, like that's the easy one to deal with. If anything, it would be Sam Raimi's Spider-Man that would be more difficult to make sense of than the Amazing Spider-Man. Because the Amazing Spider-Man, first of all, the Human Lizard's already cured. Madam Web can already exist in that particular thing, hiding. No one needs to know she exists. You know, uh, Rhino is already there, and a version of Rhino. You could have Rhino evolve. You already have them plotting, uh, attempting to plot Sinister Six. What I would personally do is that I would make them fail, though. Like that version of the Sinister Six, I would sum up as a failure attempt to create it. And because when the Spider Verse opens up, you want like people to come in and decide to take over what Oscorp was like, failure in that version. The a complete failure, and then someone else takes over. So that's my idea with it, is basically to start off with the aftermath and even have Spider-Man, I would want the Green Goblin back from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, because I would want to confront him in both, you know, I want to confront him in the beginning of the film as a in dialogue, but he's not free. Like, I would not have him out of the prison in the Amazing Spider-Man 3. He would still be in the cell, but doesn't mean that he wouldn't go visit him while he's locked up at some point. Like, I would, make at least a scene to his bitterness that shows him. I wouldn't have him murder him, because that would be going too far, I think, with the character. I think you would be, you want him to be bitter and dark and go down a path, but not like that dark, right? Because and you might punch him in the face, right, or some shit while he's locked up, but that's about it. So, so it's like, I feel like, and have him take out Oscorp. So I feel like in the beginning, he would shut down Oscorp. In the very beginning of the Amazing Spider-Man 3, you would see him shut down Oscorp, and while he's in the process of shutting down Oscorp, he would look at like what he was doing, and then go up as that effect, because I want him to be musing around him and questioning things and questioning his pain. And he's already been trying to take them out for some time now because some time has passed since The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So it's like, but not that much time, just enough time. There is no Venom. Venom doesn't exist yet because Venom would have to exist afterwards, after he disappears in that timeline, right? Because they would probably be like they don't care, it's their own world now, because after when he goes up in the act 1, it now becomes right when he returns in act 2, right? Because you want act 1 where Spider-Man goes up, and then act 2 but it tells the whole story. So you do want to tell the Amazing Spider-Man 3 story before, all in act 1 is what you want to do in one movie. Act 1 with Silver Sable first making an appearance in act 1, but also him musing things and having conversation with his aunt, having conflicts with his old best friend, and seeking to take out what is now the reign and the failure of the Sinister Six, because it would already instantly fail because of what's going on. And then you would go in and you have this fight go down, but the fight wouldn't really last because he'd go up, and then they would kind of have this idea because Silver Sable could have the technology to read this type of shit, so you don't have to do Madam Web right off the bat, because the Madam Web is hidden in the background. So then in Act 2, Rhino and Black Cat are running amok eventually, because you speed up a bit in timeline, because Venom has already happened in Act 2. So right, that's because he didn't exist in Act 1, but now he exists in Act 2. So see what I'm saying? So he does exist in Act 2, but he's in a whole different area in the world, and just seeing Black Cat and Rhino running amok, right? Think about it. The Daily Bugle cast the Black Cat, Rhino running amok, because Black Cat could become like the new, Black Cat even in that like to play tricks and and steal things and leave symbols, and she was a character that wasn't like Catwoman, for example. She's a lot different than Catwoman, believe it or not, because she has a thing with signatures and graffiti. She's like the graffiti version of Black Woman was fucking duh. Black Cat or Catwoman was like, the difference that I'm trying to say here is that if one was more feistier and more driven, and then the other was more artistic. If you say it, like, because Black Cat has more of an artistic, more joyful kind of place this here kind of, if that makes any sense, but also technical. Like, she could be working for Oscorp and shit like that at the same time. So, so it's like, it's more giddy. I guess giddy, is that the word I'm looking for? So Black Cat has a different sense of appeal, I feel like. But and so it could be really fun having Black Cat run around fucking Manhattan with Rhino. Would be an interesting scene to even give people. So so it's like, but I would also have Silver Sable, because I would still very much want Silver Sable as the someone that's trying to figure all this out, because they could use like technology to try to figure it out. While Madam Web doesn't need technology, that's why she gets her own movie too. So Silver Sable, I guess, could get her own movie also. But I think it would be great to see Silver Sable have some kind of say in The Amazing Spider-Man 3, but also have it so when Spider-Man shows back up in Act 2, that he's in a whole new world, he's in the same world that he came back from, but it's a little different. And the human lizard is still alive. He's just in a cell, and it turns out that and nothing really changed, right? And it's sad because he's looking for Gwen Stacy, Because when I sit here and think about it, it's so tragic because she wouldn't return. Even in his timeline, the only way he'd return, she would be able to return is if the timeline spiraled. You know, see what I'm saying? So, in other words, she's still dead. And I was sitting here thinking about that. Like, I would love to have Emma Stone return as Gwen Stacy, but you'd have to totally do it different because by the timeline, it just would, it would. So, it's like, I just feel like it would be emotional, so he'll now also be searching for his Emma, right? His MJ. I feel like Andrew would be looking for his MJ in the Amazing Spider-Man 3 after he returns. Because Act 2, he's already met the other Spider-Mans in Act 2 when he returns to this world. So you could do it all in one movie in the Amazing Spider-Man 3, but you wouldn't have Venom become a conflict until Act 3. See what I'm saying? So if that's the point of doing that, then you might as well just introduce Venom in the Amazing Spider-Man 3 and then just to have, something set up for them in a future movie that could be even bigger for the fans. So it's like, is what I was sitting here thinking, because you do want to go and explain this because you're going to have the Spider-Verse. But I think Venom 3 also should not be a Venom versus Spider-Man movie. I think it should be a Venom versus film. And the reason why I think it should be a Venom versus film is because I think that Marvel should have a deal with Gore the God Butcher. I really want Gore the God Butcher in Venomverse, because if we have the Venomverse, it means he could travel not just through the multiverse, but also to different worlds that he's been at. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I would have Venom not just on Earth. Like in the third Venom, when he starts going through, we really would go full out, because we'd go with the God of symbiotes would be in that movie. Gore the God Butcher would be in that movie, and we would be exploring pretty much the multiverse of Venom in Venomverse, and then going through all that shit, and then having him connect. Because all his symbiotes are connected, and have that symbiotic sense, connect to characters. Yes, this means another Venom would show up even in Venomverse, is what this would mean. And that another Venom that would be planned on staying. Because we would have in the Marvelverse, I wouldn't even do an Eddie Brock in Marvel's Spider-Man. I would do a Agent Venom instead. I would just use. We already have Flash Thompson, a very good actor. I'm sure he could pull it off if you just move towards. This is your opportunity. I think it would be an interesting take. It might not be the ideal take for everyone, but I think it would be an interesting move for them to go, because I don't want to see Tom Holland stay. It's just so generic, like stay the Venom. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he's still the Marvel Spider-Man on Disney side, and as the main one. And then over here and then you just give the actor who plays Flash Thompson, a bigger say. But I would introduce Gwen Stacy in Marvel Spider-Man, and I would cast, because I love the idea of it, because you can't. I think it's tragic that in the script of The Amazing Spider-Man 3 that she's still dead. So you'd look for a new cast to play a new MJ that would eventually arrive in The Amazing Spider-Man 3, because, so in other words, there's no Spider-Gwen in that timeline. You'd have to go through the Spider-Verse to get to that. And what other way to do that than in Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland? And I also think it would be a great time to introduce in Spider-Man 4 also at least a small cameo of Miles Morales' uncle. More on Miles Morales' uncle, and a tiny small cameo of Miles Morales himself before he's Spider-Man in Spider-Man 4. Because what I really want to see with Spider-Man 4, because I feel like we're going to jump into a crazy world of portals and dimensions, is that we get a more grounded Spider-Man, one last grounded Spider-Man movie, because I really want to spend time with, I think, with a Spider-Man in New York. You know what I mean? Like, at least one last time. But the difference is that I would spend time with him in New York and Mexico. I would make it so I'd have to have something happen to bring him, or to have some kind of connection to Mexico, though, in this movie. So it's like the Fantastic Four, because it would be building up to the new Venom that we'd be working on. But it wouldn't have Venom really show up until like the end of Spider-Man 4, even in Marvel's. So it's like, because I feel like what I would have Spider-Man involved in is, okay, so in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, if you didn't notice, Doctor Strange in that timeline did mention the Fantastic Four in the 60s. So I feel like, where is Mr. Fantastic? I bet you he's still there. He's probably a college professor or something. I feel like he's gonna pass his GED, despite that no one knows he doesn't exist. But I think he can still find a way through, and in them having difficulties, I think he's going to meet the Fantastic Four. I swear to God, I feel like I would almost call this movie, if I had my way, The Fantastic Spider-Man, because I feel like The Fantastic Spider-Man would be a fantastic way to show you where the Fantastic Four are now. Because obviously you get the prequel and the build-up to what was going on in their own movie, so. But I think it'd be a great time to have the Fantastic Four in Spider-Man and the Defenders reforming in Spider-Man. See, I think you would love my Spider-Man 4 otherwise, because I probably would call it the Fantastic Spider-Man. And then Spider-Man 5 wouldn't be the Fantastic Spider-Man 2. I would call it something else. See, so what I would do is the Fantastic Spider-Man, because it's symbolic number 4. The Fantastic Spider-Man, because we would have the Fantastic Four in it, and he would be more grounded. I would have Kingpin in this movie as well. And if we're going to introduce and stay grounded, then and introduce other characters at the same time, without spiraling too far, like having Agent Venom at some point show up, and you want him, to see where MJ is gone, and now, him drifting, and then also having Gwen Stacy make her first appearance in the beginning of the movie, and she probably would be in the movie I probably could write her into the movie. So it's like, as a as a college student or something, from, I don't know, a different version of Gwen Stacy. So I would make it work. I could see the Fantastic Spider-Man as Disney's next Spider-Man movie, as the Fantastic Spider-Man, and it just makes sense. It's more like the Spectacular, realistically, if you look at it, but I like the name of Fantastic better, because we could always call the 5th movie Spectacular, that's why. So that's my take on what Disney should do. start off, because then you'd go in and have Spectacular where he's starting to connect more as to the multiverse that was bleeding through, and similarities in the fifth film with Agent Venom and and Spider-Gwen, and even have Miles Morales start to become Spider-Man in the fifth film. So it's like, so they can actually have a full team in Spider-Man 6, win the Sinister Six through the multiverse, a version of the Sinister Six. Or you could do step up your game and do the Sinister Nine, because probably, I would assume Sony would do the Sinister Six first, and then even though it's Spider-Man 6, you still flip it. It was 69, but you'd be like the Sinister Nine instead and just step it up. But there's actually the Sinister 12 also. But anyway, but there's all of this that could occur, because I know that they said they would do Marvel would do 2 more trilogies, but I feel like it would only be 1 more real true Spider-Man trilogy, because the next trilogy would be full out Spider-Verse. Like, there would be no more ground. There would just be all Spider-Verse. And that's why I'd like to see it spend a little more time on the ground, and particularly with the Fantastic Spider-Man, and then start to reach out with the Spectacular, and then it really goes haywire, and I don't know, the Sinister Spider-Man. I don't know, is that too much to call it the Sinister or the Marvelous Spider-Man? The Marvelous Spider-Man. I think that would be like 7 or something, because then it could be like the Marvelous Spider-Man, but as the 7th Spider-Man movie. But then again, I don't like that idea, because I like the 7th one better as Spider-Verse, and where they just drop it and they were like, it goes straight into the Spider-Verse. And then they don't even need to do that, because they could be focusing on Agent Venom, Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, 2 different Spider-Men in it. Even bring in Tobey Maguire more in the 7th film, assuming that, obviously these movies wouldn't be stretched out that long, because I would assume that we would get the Fantastic Spider-Man in 2023, and then the Spectacular Spider-Man in 2025, and then the Marvelous Spider-Man in 2027, and then full-fledged, because obviously Tobey Maguire would somehow return. This is another neat idea that you could do, but I think it's a little too much for the Fantastic Spider-Man, but I think you could have Tobey Maguire even in some way represented in a neat, interesting way in that particular film, and then go in and have him more connect through the spider sense, through another multiverse or another universe, through Spider-Man 5 more. So I feel like you would be able to see that happen more, because what you would go into is this big really cool, interesting team up that's even 10 times more interesting than Spider-Man 3 was, No Way Home. And it could just really blow out of proportion and go really crazy, so to the point that it's like, now at this point, it's identified as the Spider-Verse. His identity changes. So then that last trilogy would just be straight up Spider-Verse. But I have a bunch of ideas on it. on what you could do with it and shit like that. I mean, you really could just go all out with even the Fantastic Spider-Man and then do Spider-Man 5 and 6 and just do a lot of the ideas that we're going to do in the other trilogy and then do something different with the next trilogy, possibly, and just try to cram 2 different trilogies into one trilogy. It would be already a little suffocating, but I think because you'd have a lot going on, because even within one trilogy, because the Fantastic Spider-Man, I would have the Defenders in it, like, I would have the Defenders in it, like, I would have, like, you know, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, even the Punisher, a version of the Punisher would probably he'd probably have a small cameo in it. So it's like, and I feel like even She-Hulk would be in this movie at some point because of Daredevil, and so would the Hulk. So She-Hulk, and so it's like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of New York characters. Like, I think Spider-Man 4 should be a very grounded, try to identify yourself after this mess since you don't exist. You know, you don't exist, and how do you work with not existing? But you know Spider-Man exists, but you know the guy behind the mask doesn't exist anymore. And now you're trying to figure this out. While there are other superheroes out there that are also wearing masks, and then some that aren't wearing masks that are very public. And I think this movie could be a extremely good opportunity to introduce be the biggest Spider-Man movie of all time, because it could introduce a lot of characters. It could have the Fantastic Four in it, the full Fantastic Four in it. It could have the whole of the Defenders in it. You could, and you could spend time with these characters a little bit more, since it's an identity film. You're right. So it's like, and so which means it's like the crimes that are going in. There's a lot of crimes in New York. And which ones do you have to find? Which ones do you have to stop? You have to pick something to go after, right? It's Spider-Man. So it's like, and trying to tackle all these crimes. So Kingpin's out there still. You have all these gangs that are out there. It's like, maybe it's an opportunity not to have a big-ass villain. If that makes sense. Like, because I almost was going to say, why not Mr. Negative in the next movie? But then I was like, well, he's a very powerful character. And maybe we would have to downgrade him a bit, is what we would have to do So I think what would be a better main villain in Spider-Man 4 would be Chameleon. And here's my reason why. Because he's already suffering an identity crisis, and there's Skrulls out there. Right? And I think we would have Skrulls in Spider-Man 4 in some way, and in having Chameleon, which Chameleon is not a Skrull, but he does shapeshift. So it's like, and it would make a very interesting combo, because like, who are you? Shape yourself. We're going to be, you don't exist. This is a refresh. You don't exist. Here you go. You're gonna get a new start in the show and guide, and I think a very good mentor in this. I feel like, I know I would say Daredevil too, but I feel like it would be Mr. Fantastic, because I think Mr. Fantastic would be a great mentor for Spider-Man in the Fantastic Spider-Man. That's why I really, really want the Fantastic Four in Spider-Man 4. But I also want the Defenders, if that makes any sense. In New York, even. And even, we'd probably dive into other places as well, and be like, well, where's Venom? Where's that symbiote? I thought about that. I really have thought about that, and I thought about the character. And when I thought about that and not having throwing Spider-Man in there, I thought about it as, you know, I thought about it as the memory bank of the Venom verse connected, and I thought, why not have a character that, you know, because if you spend a little time with like Flash Thompson, for example, and send him to Mexico for something, and then have him catch a parasite, you know, and then the parasite has memories. So think about it. Like, that's how you could actually wrap them in, because, you know, I think Flash Thompson would actually be the first person, and it would surprise people because I probably would make him the first person to actually know, to remember, and then and I think he would respect that because he is a fan, despite that he was a bully. But I feel like he's not a bad guy. You know what I mean? I feel like we have an opportunity for because Agent Venom could actually team up, and it's like, and I feel like it would be a really cool experience, a different change with it, because then, you know, MJ could get maybe upset because he found out, and then she's knows that something's missing in her life but doesn't know what it is. This movie has is an identity or a search for yourself kind of vibe already. I already feel like what I'm calling the Fantastic Spider-Man is an identity. Searching for yourself is fantastic in itself. And having all these characters in it and going in and saying, hey, you don't really need a big ass, sometimes there's no big ass villain, because you could do that in Spider-Man 5. It's like, I think spending time grounded with characters like Chameleon as a villain and Kingpin gives you a movie where you could have multiple smaller types, and the only thing that makes Chameleon really that big of a threat is you just don't know who the hell he is. You know, he's not really that strong. He's not much stronger than Kingpin. So it's like, you know, you know, you're just searching for this guy that shapeshifts, and then you can be like, what, scrolls? You know, and he's already like, what are you talking about? Because he has to now go back and remember that he may not have been talking to Director Fury. I think this is going to be, again, an identity search for not just yourself, but an identity search for everyone else that's around you, and trying to figure out what people are to you, who they are really, and are they the person that they once were? Is this really that person? And I think, you know, having all of these heroes in this and smaller villains in this is a fantastic opportunity. That's personally my suggestion for Disney's Spider-Man. Now, for Sony's Spider-Man, it's a different story. It's a different direction, because I feel like they have to play, you know, I think it's, you know, I think it would be an opportunity to show you the villain side of the worlds in a way, while having like other characters like Spider-Woman and Madam Web make not just appearances, but actually complete takeover and have their own things in the background, and Venom. And I think having this all connect, like what's the leftover, is to use actual Andrew Garfield's, to use that version, but to have it slightly altered. And the reason why I think it's slightly altered is because, you know, and how you make it work is because nothing changed. In the original timeline, you make it so it doesn't change. So you have this timeline where Spider-Man is taken, right? So nothing changed before then. So when it does change, it would alter that timeline. And by altering that timeline, it would actually collapse that main timeline. If you did bring them all back at that timeline, it would literally collapse. It would, like, their thing would start to fall apart, right? So it's like, it would be like Doctor Strange. Their universe would literally start to fall apart. They would be in a universe that's falling apart. So then, if that's the case, then Amazing Spider-Man 3 would be going from a universe into a universe that is falling apart. You would basically have him leave and then be like, so much has happened because so many different other things have happened. Because not only did he return back, but they returned back, and by them returning back, it's the same universe. It altered this pathway while while a version of himself was still existing. So now he's still in that universe. In fact, there's two different versions of himself in that universe, if you think about it. So now there's three of him in the Amazing Spider-Man. Like, what? He's going to come back to seeing himself two times over, like even more, or three times, because there's three of them. If that's the case, like this whole universe is falling apart. There's that approach, or there's approach where it is more controllable because Madam Web's in the background collecting and hushing up timelines because she's able to, have another character travel and like help take Jamie Foxx out of his universe and then take the other people that I don't know the names out of their universe. And then this is how Gwen Stacy could survive because Spider-Woman and could come up to Madam Web instead of Spider-Man coming up to Madam Web and have her go through the Spider-Verse somehow into collect these characters. And I think that would be like a cleanup act. Like they just disappear and it never changed anything. You would obviously, people who are aware of like Human Lizard, for example, he would obviously have to stay in his cell, right? So it's like some characters wouldn't be taken. Like Human Lizard would be left behind, but because he's too publicly known, unless you were gonna change that up. And they're trying to make sense to like how and why, you know, Vulture is in that, and why he was sent there through that doesn't have any explanation. It's otherwise it's just saying like, what is it saying? It's just glitching, like a matrix glitch. Like nobody's in control. It's just like spiraling out of control. See, I don't believe that. I believe it's too much Marvel in it all to just to be like that's just what it is because I feel like it would make you think that, but it's not. Like it could be like Doctor Doom has done it before as an example, fucked with people. So it's like throwing people into shit. So yeah, I think you're gonna see. I feel like I've already heard they're making a Madam Web movie. It's supposed to come out the same year as Craven, which is actually next year. Craven the Hunter and Madam Web. So we start piecing things together with Madam Web, I'm imagining, because I would assume with Craven the Hunter, that's just going to be his own movie with him hunting Spider-Man. So in a way, what are they going to do? Have him hunt a version of Spider-Man and then just tell the story? Like, what are we going to do? Have Kraven the Hunter go into Spider-Man's house and like, what version of this is this? Because if you do this right, he could go into this house. There's, you could use Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man then in Kraven the Hunter and just kill him off or something, because he was like, well, I already killed the Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man. Like, what's happening here? Are we walking into people's houses now, and that's what the thing is? And and hunting for a Spider-Man. I think it would be interesting. Criminal Hunter could be interesting because then it could be like there's more than one Spider-Man because of the whole glitch shit. Venom Burst will be a fun movie too if they do the Venom 3. What do with Morbius? I'm telling you, Morbius would be fantastic collab with the Vampire by Night. If Sony and Marvel could make a deal there just for a standalone movie there, would be really good. And then he would be in the Midnight Suns if they can make a deal. Like, I don't believe him. I don't understand human beings. Well, I do. People see things their own way. No one sees things the same. Well, some people do. Yes, you can. And with the spectrum of colors and shit, you could brainwash people off one color. Stare at the... Like, what the hell? Think about it this way. What came to be? Who decided that red meant? Like, who granted meaning to red? Like, or white? You know, the people who come up with this shit where they're like, well, this means this or that. It's like, what is it more symbolically in nature connected to? As in the spectrum. Brainwashing is what I say. You actually could brainwash people by imprinting colors into their neurons. By doing that, it really depends on what if you start putting the idea, idolization, which does not exist, the idea does not exist, but if the idea does exist on the color, it starts to shape and create a reality, create something inside their head, like you're in your own world inside your head. You could just be like all red inside your head, or all green inside your head, or different shaping colors, but each thing starts to morph. You see this red might not even be red. Who says that most human beings are just disabled? We're really the disabled ones. Maybe that's not blue. Just because more people see it as blue doesn't mean it's blue. Now, does it? Who decides that it means what it means, right? Numbers. Group people, cults, manifestation in reality is who decides. The more people back something, you're in control of your own life. Well, numbers, though. Numbers can be used against you. You can lose control of, like, direction by simply being outnumbered. Well, is it quality or quantity? In this case, quantity can overwhelm quality, which means you can have all the quality in the world, but you're going to have to carry that because there's going to be one lonely ass fucking quality because it's quantity, the numbers are going to be against you. They don't care about if the world doesn't, if people don't care about quality or don't share the same thing of what you find to be quality. What is qualified to you or quality to you may not be quality to the next person. Someone doesn't give a shit about it. See, the next person might. So that quantity becomes this big ass number, and then they weaponize this shit, trying to direct reality and an image they think it should be. It's brainwashing, one on one. Even it's like it's the spectrum of shit. Psychological war, as the prophecy, as what I saw, that was going to get even worse. And even the United States of America was going to blow up into all sorts of spectrums and the usages of brainwashing, and there's going to be more victims, unfortunately, because they don't know how to fucking, not all of them are able to figure out how to stop evil instead of making it appear like it's not evil. Some people think, well, if you don't see it, then it's not evil, or if you see it differently, then it's not evil. But try saying that to someone who's getting their fucking, tortured, or, instead of not having to go into void details, but someone who's going in and suffering, that someone would be like, well, that's necessary. But, it's in the end, it depends on what, like the person behind it, what they're coming up with, right? They're trying to figure out and decide, what does it mean? What does it mean? And what do they want it to mean? Me personally, if free will is like, with my experiences, is something that I'm outnumbered on, because other people will have a whole different idea of what that is and try to use that to rule and brainwash people. So it's, again, I think it is fucked sometimes, because humans are so messy. They are an absolute mess, the human beings. The only way you can accomplish full takeover at this rate of these humans and their hearts and their strings and their mindsets is to be cold as shit, which is not necessarily good for everyone, which means evil has a better chance of being smarter in that format. And that is, even if you look away and look at something else, still very overpowering, whether you see it or not, or know it or not. Sometimes you have to take up the mask or the mantle, right? When I imprint CCCC 15 million times, it's just kind of like this lock, kind of like this, oh, hey, here, look at this. It's there's Severus Snape. You have to appear as something that you may not be. Right? You're going to play the role that might damage your character, the character that you really are. Like, you play a different character that you're not, for an objective, or somewhere you want to go. It's acting. You point in that direction and say, this is what I want to do with this. It opens the floodgates. It spills it out, and you got to be careful though, because when you do this, I like to be like, say, every human being in the planet Earth is nice, kind, and going to be in favor of love and free will, but it doesn't stop the evil that is out there. Sadly, not like that. You still have to draw it out, and if you do that, yes, you're not gonna. Some people aren't gonna like how it needs to be fought. You're not gonna like how it needs to be fought. Okay. You're gonna like how it needs to be fought, and I'm telling you right now, goodbye privacy, or we're all fucked. It'll be worse with privacy. It'll be far worse with privacy. Like, for everybody. Like, you'd have to open every single thing, and then now security is now built up on the free. And think about it. It's a good thing, and I'll tell you why. It's a good thing when it spills out, because it makes everyone honest. It creates this absolute haywire spree of collectivity that in a environment that is aware of this. So the stringing that is still coexisting can be danced around or seen. See, there's evil there. See there? See, I start to collect data there. You see, I'm noticing, you know, paths that people can go on. And it's like, well, this person must be this. Why don't I How? You know, by an image and a calculation of things. And where I trust my instincts, but I notice a lot of humans have really bad instincts. So my instincts said that a lot of things, and I actually they're not really wrong, but usually not. But and I've never, but I don't know. But I'm not supposed to say that, I guess. But anyway, when you predict something and it ends up becoming true, but then you go against your original prediction, self-sabotage your original prediction of what something was. Like, let's say you predict the LA Rams are going to win, and you deep down know they're going to win. But then you go and say, nope, the Tigers are going to win afterwards, because why are you doing that? You see what I'm saying? You already said the first time, is going to be self-sabotage. Number two is going to be self-sabotage. So, number one, always stick with number one. So, when you go with that, so it's like, being out to get your own super senses, you know? I've seen my heart come back to me and like you know, I could see her if I let it just stand right here in front of me. Okay? It's like a image, right? Or photons assembling in the from another, like bleeding through you know, thin air. It's in the air and it's coming through. But what makes it safe, what makes it strong, that makes it so it can't even be damned. Like like if you were to get there physically, it's like into heaven, then the manifestation, other words, see, like you like and worry about others that would come after, because not everyone's in your favor. See, they will be like, hey, you will never be loved. We're going to go in our power to make sure that you would never, ever connected with your soulmates. See? And it becomes, and this say there's people out there there are no people out there like that. But guess what? So by doing that and denying the existence of the devil is only going to give more power to those, right, in that direction. So if it does that, then it can do that in the other. So denying the existence of it isn't entirely the answer to creating a mandatory manifestation. I like how it said that. It said Green Bay, the station. Is that how bad my accent is? When I'm talking? When I'm talking. It's like, is the accent so bad that in somewhere down the road, this system, this software, this AI, when it censors, somehow thought I said Green Bay, the station. Now it's like maybe I did say Green Bay, the station, but I didn't say it. See what I'm saying? You're changing reality, even if you said it or you didn't say it or not. The idea gets thrown because, first of all, the word in itself is already an idea, right? What word isn't an idea? What word isn't an idea? What word isn't a seed? It's all seeds. So take it away, and you could literally fuck someone up by you. How do you get to your heart? See, it's a tragedy. It could be a tragedy, but it's a manifestation of direction to where you're going to go. True love or not at all. What doesn't change? The stubbornness, the rebel in me. I mean, that, but then again, what do people say? You know, and what is seen? You know, hey, if I was acting and I'm not in a movie and they don't know because let's say I'm off the stage and I'm deciding, hey, I'm going to entertain a group of people here. And it's just an act. But if nobody knows that it's just an act, or they just know it's an act in that crowd, but everyone else, and then those people decide not to mention that it was an act. And then other people sit there and say, well, it was the real deal. Like, let's say you're playing the bad guy in a play, and it is weaponized against you. It's just acting, right? And it's just, it's not really who you are, but but it could be like come back like, well, this wasn't on a stage. This was on like the grass in a field, on a trampoline. You're, you're putting on a show, saying some things, and the people around you at the time know what it is. But they don't show the world the whole picture. They rarely ever do show the world the whole picture. They'll show you a clip of the picture, and then, oh shit, I'm a bad guy, right? Or that person's a bad guy. This has never happened to me physically, not that I'm aware of, but I'm still able to put myself there in that scenario. But so I'm like looking at it this way. Sometimes we're not where we really belong. It's like we're on a way to where we need to be, because realistically we could be born in hell, and to say that it really is our, and if there was no hell, what would I be? Like, what if I was born in instant heaven, exactly where I needed to be, exactly, connected to my best life instantly, or I was able to get there at an early age, and what would happen? I wouldn't have changed. The versions of me, like the rebel and stubbornness, no matter how intelligent I am, no matter how dumb and I could become, and that love is always going to be the thing that is more louder than anything else, and being and going down a path and seeing things and knowing too much, encountering against knowledge itself sometimes would be like, I would just be sabotaging myself in that environment. I would probably have been fucked over 10 times worse than I am right now, as what I sometimes think. Because if I was born instantly into it, because then the whole world now could love the hell out of you to the point that you don't really even know who the hell truly loves you, and you start just questioning everything. And I think at that point, I probably would never let myself be happy again. I would probably, I'm afraid that's what I would do. So it's possible. It's not impossible that I probably would possibly do that to myself. Sure, I'd be working my ass off. That's what my life probably would be, is just work. I'd be making movies, video games, trying to save the world, but never saving myself is what would happen. And I am being selfish, I guess. And by not being there and embracing hell at the same time is giving me a chance. It's manifesting so I can be with my soulmate one day. And it's not too late in this life. I don't have to wait until the next life. I might have to wait until I'm fucking 33 years old, but probably not that long. Because if I keep going the rate that I'm going, screaming the mess that I am, and then knowing that other people are talking shit behind me or talking things in the past that aren't, and I have a lot of enemies because probably that wish me nothing but the worst. And I just sit here and think, like, with my experiences is, okay, so I understand hearts get caught on strings and minds and shit, and people get caught into things and they think they know something, and they get caught into that, and it changes and alters, and it's just like someone leaves you stranded, comes up with a reason to why. Deep down, what would it be like if I gotta sit here and think about it. It would eat me up inside, right? If I, like, just thrown someone aside, knowingly, right? Knowing that I'm like, and go back and be like, this person is like love, right? Or, and I just toss them aside like nothing, because of what? Because you're around other people who are embracing you, that want you around. It's like, because you get a crowd, you're in a crowd, like I'm in a crowd of people, right? Imagine, and I'm popular. Okay, let's put myself in that scenario. I'm popular. I'm not, a misfit, but another person that I was hanging out with, and I'm like, nope, you're not invited. That would make me a piece of shit. I would literally, like, and then for someone to be like, nah, fuck that person. Like, seriously? Like, seriously? Like, I mean, but you gotta think about the idea behind it. What if that person did betray you at some point in life? Can make something a little more complicated emotionally. Now we're talking about, something that very real happened, right? Like, let's say when you were both misfits, or they were a misfit once. And, like, you ever been in the scenario where you were the misfit, and then they said fuck you to you when they were popular, but then when you became popular, if you said fuck you to them, then everyone hates you. Because it's not, you're two, and then they might be like, oh wow, your heart. So it's like, what am I supposed to do? I would feel obligated, I think, to even let someone who hurt me into the group. Because I'm not about to lose the people that are around me. But do I get to make the decision by myself? This is where I start to think that maybe if someone's like, nope, instantly about a person, maybe it should be a debate. Maybe it shouldn't be your judgment that decides whether or not this person, you're not, maybe there should be no king or queen in this scenario. And there should be a actual debate on whether or not, like, let's sit down and talk, and then if we agree that you could join us, then sure. But maybe because that's something to think about. But it's really sad though, like, to think that you could be outnumbered and still be a good person and shot out. So maybe in this scenario, this is the case when a ruler should step in, when they risk themselves out there for you. right? So, and then I think about like if I know if I did that, right? And then the other way around, if someone did that for me, and I gotta think of, I feel like I have to think of the worst and the best, but the reason I gotta think about the worst too is because I don't want to make a choice that may, you see what I'm saying? Like that the worry that you're going to screw up and that this friend is no longer going to want you around, because you did mess up. But isn't that like, are all superstars, for example, supposed to be the top? Sometimes I make the dumb jokes witchcraft, but it's like if I'm gonna start talking about witchcraft, is that going to offend somebody? And I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk about witchcraft, but fuck. But anyway, you're sitting here, look at this shit. Okay, but anyway, I I think that people with my experiences, okay, here's my experiences in my life physically, and then my thoughts can get in the way and then sabotage myself. That I have met people in my life. When I was in Miami Conference, for example, I go all the way back to my school years. That when I was around misfits, okay, I we we clicked. You know what I mean? When I sit back there and look at it, like I picked on at first. Yeah, so what? You move on and things, but it was nothing like what happened in a public school. Public school, I did get bullied in public school, but that's a story in itself. Uh, but when I was in non-public school with social activity, I was way better. I was way better. I think I was, because I was doing things. I was in plays. Because in public school, I didn't do plays, with the exception of taking drama class in ninth grade in a public school. That's all I could think of off the top of my head, because I did not do plays in public school. But I did do plays in like a private schools, I did a play in MacArthur. But that was a classroom play. That was actually my first play. But but I guess what I'm trying to say is that when I was in Green, for example, I auditioned for a role, and I also had a crush on someone that was in the play, right? And that could have been in the play, I guess. I didn't really know for sure that they were going to be in the play, I guess, but I kind of instantly assumed, because I always felt like she was like the most talented person on that ever stepped. Well, in my area of that time, I saw talent. She was very talented. She just didn't like me instantly. It's just like I felt like, wow, okay, like, so and then having the awkwardness, and then having myself be in that scenario where I have friends that were my bullies that I'm trying to maintain at the same time without slipping back into being bullied, trying to avoid being bullied by keeping your bullies close as friends. And so and I remember spending a lot of work doing that alone myself in public school. So then when I'm going in and I'm in band, or no, I was in chorus at the time. I remember that. And then when I was in there, uh, it just, it really just took just that one person to get me to quit the class. I walked out, like, and I didn't go back one day. So because of a girl, I was like, nope, I couldn't. So I had this thing where I was in this, like, with the play. It didn't work out for me in the end, because I didn't even know I made the role until afterwards. Okay, I guess what I got back afterwards was like, why are you wearing the play? It was like, what are you talking about? I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, and like, you made a role. You were, you do realize that we did cast you as someone. I'm like, oh, well, no one told me that. I was like, and I didn't see it on the paper up on the wall. And because when I went on the wall, I did check the wall, but I never saw my name on the wall. So I assumed that I didn't get the role. Is what I did, and apparently, I guess I did get a role in the play, and I just didn't know until it was too late. But and that's my mental situation in public school. But in private school, I was close by where other people were doing plays, and we all were there out for each other, whether we were, disastrous or not at times in the plays, right? Or what we were doing. We all had each other's backs. We were there. And it was, I was writing my own newspapers. This is private, like kind of like a private school, but it's called Wyoming Conference. It was and no dating was allowed, but I guess, I don't know. I guess I might have broken the rule once, but it was kind of dumb because you don't actually see them outside of school anyway. I guess because never saw her once outside of the school, and I don't even know if it counts. Other words, but I did have an experience in school. So, but when I look at that and it's just, is it because we're in an enclosed environment and that we're all weirdos and we're all forced to see each other as weirdos? Is that what it takes for me to not just thrive, but to actually carry people around with me? You see what I'm saying? And have connections, and not miss out on a play. That's how I published my poem. I had my poem published because, well, wasn't my choice. It was fucking what do I tell you? I was like, well, I want to show you something, right? And I show people and they're like, oh my God, you need to publish these. These are amazing. And then one of my poems, I'm like, okay, I'll give you one of my garbage poems, is what I was like. I remember saying, I'll give you one of my garbage ones. And I gave them what I thought was probably my worst poem that I wrote out of that bunch. Gave it to the teacher, and sure enough, she published it, had me sign this thing, and I didn't even, and it ended up going through. It was like Branding K. I didn't even put my full last name on the thing. And it's like, so when my name went through on the publications, that's what I said. It was Brandon K. Because it was like, I didn't put my last name. It's like, I was like, whatever. But anyway, and, but after that, there's a mixture of shit in my life. I can go to drama class, and I'm hopscotching through time, portals through time, so disorganized, right? What's my bad thing with attendance in green? Not showing up. Brandon's missing. Where is Brandon? On absence, over and over again, right? I was apparently disappearing at times, I guess, at one point in my life, I just, I was in a really bad situation. I remember just going through all that. I was alone. I was giving up. I saw the future. I was right though. Like what I saw turned out to be right. Didn't change the fact that I was, but other people were like trying to change it or something. And just to me, there was no other way. this was what was going to happen, whether anybody liked it or not, whether I liked it even. It didn't matter even if I didn't. I was always stuck in selective situations, I felt like, where I was in a school that I was too busy working to belong, or I was, not, or I was reading into the way that the teachers were doing things, and then analyzing that, and then realizing, oh shit, and then in a way, I was the kid that could challenge things, but also the kid that could disrupt the class, be considered the disruptor. So it's like, it's like looking back at all that too. So, and then you're at one point, you're like, why do you even bother? These people don't even want to be like, what are all this shit? So, and then getting graded for shit. Like when I was in Binghamton High School, for example, I took drama class. Nobody gave a shit about me when I first walked through that door, but eventually I noticed people started to like me. That was because I took something depressive at the time and turned it into a comedy. I made it stupid on purpose, so to change up the vibe or the mood, because I felt like this was too serious. That's what I felt like, because people going up there trying to just kill themselves on stage with these things, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna do something stupid. Fuck this. That's depressing. I'm gonna do something ridiculous. So if I'm going up there, fuck this serious shit. I was like, this is... So I remember being like that, and then I challenged the direction that people were going into. But yeah, people laughed. All was funny, but it didn't change the next person that went up after me. If I recall, they just tried to figure out how. If I remember, they continued being serious, but they um uh didn't interact with my whole scenario, because of, they were like kind of wanting to ignore the comedic parts and just keep what serious parts there were about it, like the death itself and how the death happened. Like they still stuck to that, but then the other shit, they just were like totally like they didn't even witness anything happen. They're just like, oh, I'm up here on a mission to interact with what was left behind, and then I gotta be serious. So yeah, it didn't really do much there, I guess. It didn't change the actor that came after me, but it did make the audience laugh. So and then the audience didn't laugh since. If there's one thing I take from that, I was the only person who made anybody laugh. Okay, but anyway, so I've had all different types of scenarios with things, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a big old mess. It's like, don't worry about your past, be who you are. But I think if people do bring up the past, I kind of feel like you have to somehow, because in the United States of America, people will weaponize your feelings against you. So it's like, and to say that they won't, it's like I'm ready for war. It's like I'm too ready for war. It's like that I just am not letting myself be happy. And then I'm like, well, I've acted and I've done things in impersonation. Jim Carrey, for example. I used to do tons of Jim Carrey impersonations out on the trampoline, and when I had one somewhere in a different location. I don't know why I'm pointing out, like I'm pointing towards the outside here, because it didn't never happen out here. Mentally, I could re-imagery and be like, well, there's a trampoline right there. I could see it too. I could see it being there. That's the thing. So when I got drove back and they're like, wait a sec, just because I could see that doesn't mean it was true though. So So it's like all this stuff in keeping yourself from going too far into the visions to the no return. I said this before, like, sure, you can go over there, but can you come back? It's like, what happens if you don't come back? I feel like I would talk to a wall for the rest of my life, probably. If I didn't come back, I would be just completely in my own world mentally. Never to return again. And then people are like, oh, well, we gotta put him in some kind of home or something because he's weird. He talks to the wall. This is why money is fucked up. People are running to ruin people's lives just because of the view. And they can't do it because they can do the dollar. The dollar lets them do it. Take advantage of people. The capitalism. How do you think capitalism is? But a format of legal conning. It's like being able to con someone into something, but legally, like permittable connery, like the stuff that is like, to think that it's not wrong is it still doesn't. It is very wrong, actually, but money in general and how people use it and making it mandatory is very, very wrong. That's never really sat well with me because I think it ruins people's lives, it ruins the future talent of directions,